girl, you know. Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me?
Hey everybody, we are back. Welcome to another episode of More Than the Title. I'm your host as usual, Jarrett Thomas, Chief Revenue Officer at Outside the Box Digital. And as usual, I've got my boy, my brethren, my cousin, your favorite CEO's favorite CEO, Chadeo, the CEO. What up, baby?
I'm overjoyed, man. Shira had me laughing in the green room already, so this is gonna be a great show. She got me laughing already. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely.
And you see, I got on the pastel green today. You know the motto. You know, if it ain't bright, it just ain't right.
And I changed the black. I ain't got no black on today, so I hope you're happy.
Because all summer, Shira, all summer, 90, 95 degrees, had on black t-shirts all in the summertime.
Why would you do this?
That's what I do. I don't know. It looks good. Black, red, and white looks really good on me. I don't know why.
He has a certain color palette. He refuses to vary from it.
He's a winter and he sticks with his color palette.
Right.
That's it. When I like something, I like it. That's it. That's it. But before we get into this great episode, we have a great guest lined up for you guys. Mm-hmm. First off, we want to thank everybody, all the supporters, all the followers, the listeners. Thank you for supporting the show. We're glowing and growing every week because you guys, and we can't thank you enough. Also, shout out to our distribution partners at the Alive Podcast Network. If you want to hear other content creators such as ourselves and other great shows like More Than a Title, make sure you download the app and support your favorite content creators. And with that being said, y'all, you know we excited as always, and we're going to get into this intro.
Let me get the bell ready before you get her intro ready. Okay, we ready.
Oh, you ready? It's about to be school. Uh-oh, there it goes. He's ready.
There it is.
Yes. So this young lady is the CEO and founder of Hunter & Bard, an award-winning marketing design agency, and also the host of C-Suite Radio podcast. As the CEO of Hunter & Bard, she oversees a team that manages marketing, design, content development for clients across multiple industries. She's also a sought-after corporate speaker and spoken at events such as Content Marketing World, T&W Europe, has given workshops for multiple brands, enterprise brands such as Samsung and UL Solutions. She's also a professor of marketing and technologies at Berkeley. Previously was a professor at marketing at Tel Aviv Jaffa Academy College, a guest lecturer at Stanford Kellogg School of Management, and Northeastern University. So let's please give a warm welcome for our guest, Shira Abel. How are you? How are you, Queen?
I'm good. How are you?
Wow. What a resume.
It speaks for itself. It speaks for itself.
All right, now I'm just blushing.
I love it.
As you should.
Congratulations. A lot of our guests, they hear their accolades and they're humbled by it, and sometimes they like, you ain't got to say all that, but I just want to say congratulations. Just know that your hard work and your dedication, it inspires people that are coming behind you. So we need to put it out there for people that you might not even know or meet. Just know that you're inspiring others to show them that success is possible on multiple levels.
Thank you. Yeah,
that's it. And that's what this show is all about. Absolutely. More than a title. And I'm going to tell you, you inspired me, Shira.
Yeah.
So this is how this conversation came about. Mm-hmm. So shout out to Travis Lochner. We was on the Beast Node. I think we was on season 6 together. Mm-hmm. I think I was like maybe 2 or 3 episodes behind you, but I actually listened to your episode, and you were a solopreneur, and then your business scaled as a result of the podcast. And I thought that was so amazing, because that's exactly what we're doing with More Than a Title, because I was working at other jobs and brands, and I'm like, why is business coming to me and I'm giving it to them when I could be doing it for myself? So I'm looking forward to hearing your story. And if you want to, let's start from the top, though. Let's start from your upbringing. If you tell us a little bit about your upbringing, and then we'll go into how you got into the field.
My upbringing. Oh, gosh. Okay. So let's see. How far back do we want to go?
Anywhere you want to go. We got time. Hit the class bell.
Came out the birth canal. I came out the canal and got the first glimpse of light into the world.
We'll start with from 2nd to 4th grade. We lived in Great Falls, Montana.
Okay.
Then we moved to California.
Okay.
Okay.
So for 2 years you lived in Montana. 2 years?
For 3 years we lived in Montana.
3 years? Okay.
Gotcha.
3 years we lived in Montana. Then before that we were in Chicago. But California, Huntington Beach specifically, is where I grew up for the most part. From age of 10 to 19, and I still consider it home. That's where I go back to for high school reunions, and when I go back to see everybody that I grew up with. So yeah, that would be home. That would be my childhood for the most part. About a mile, less than a mile from the beach.
That sounds. I'm ready to go to the beach now. It's hot over here.
I lived in California. California is pretty dope because you grew up in California, coming from Montana, and you only was in Montana. You said 3 years. It wasn't pretty much of a difference for you, but that's a big culture difference. You know, California life coming from Montana. You know,
it was such a culture difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so fifth grade. I'm just moved from Montana, and I'm on the playground, and this boy comes up and he puts his arm around me. And I'm from Montana. Okay, what did I do? I punched him.
I knew that was coming. I knew the uppercut. Boop, boop, boop.
She said, "Stranger danger."
What do you want from me?
Right.
But that's a New York move too, though.
Right. That's definitely a New York move. I don't know you. Right. Right. No,
those kids were way more advanced than I was, and I had no idea.
Right. No, that's hilarious. So wait. So I'm gonna ask later. Did you eventually like make up with the guy? Did you eventually become friends with the kid?
No, I had no idea. And then they ended up. And the other thing is that they test you in 5th grade.
Okay.
For like advanced classes. So I got put into a whole different section for 6th grade anyhow. I didn't see anybody that I was in 5th grade with again, actually.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
So they just split us off. So
yeah, they do that. They do that in New York. You know, Jarrett, they have these specialized programs and these AP programs, right? And she's right. You know, with you taking these different classes, sometimes they're in different buildings, the way the schools are set up now with the campuses.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could actually, start school with somebody and end up being in a whole different building or something and go into classes and almost never see them.
Yeah. So 5th grade, middle school in California is 6th through 8th. So it was already a different school, and then it was a different section. And when you're in, I was in GATE, was what they called it back then. And you're in those classes with the same group for all of your core classes. So the only classes I had outside of the group that I was in class with all day, those 30 students or whatever we were, was PE. And for 6th grade, it was wood shop and drafting. I wanted to be an architect.
Wow. I was going to ask you that. So like, as far as like, once you got into high school, what were some of your interests, and kind of how did you lead into marketing? Like, what was your first career role right after high school?
Okay, so my first job was actually in a punk clothing store when I was 14.
There you go.
Okay.
And
like Shoney's.
What?
Like Shoney's. They sell a lot of the hard rock clothing.
Like hot topic.
Oh, hot topic.
No. Like a real punk store. Like this was the only one, and they had Creepers and Doc Martens, and I'm talking about before Hot Topic was even a thing.
Oh, okay.
Got
I think I'm a little bit older than both of you.
Just a little bit, but I'm trying to give a comparison. Hot Topic-ish.
Yeah, no, real punk stores. So that was like back in Huntington. That was in the 80s, and then what? It was retail until college. After college, I worked for architects, and then I moved to Israel, and that's when I fell into tech.
What spurred the move to Israel? That's a big life change.
That's a big life change. So what happened was my oldest brother married an Israeli. My middle brother my oldest brother married an Israeli, had their kids in the States, and then moved to Israel. My middle brother my middle brother went for a summer, stayed for 12 years. So he was already there. And then I moved after and stayed for 17 and a half years until it was time to come back and take care of my mom.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Wow.
We
17 and a half years.
Right.
Wow.
We can't just run past that. That is a lifetime to just get up and move. Let me just ask you a question. So you said your brother met somebody, started a family, and moved. You just moved to be with what was your motivation to move? I'm just curious.
My motivation was family. My motivation for everything was family.
Gotcha.
My motivation to move back was my mother. My motivation to move there were my brothers.
Got you. So once they went, you was like, hey, I might as well go with you.
Yeah.
17 and a half years now. You initially were studying architecture, right?
I originally studied architecture, but I ended my degree in textiles.
Okay. Okay. Which again, we're talking huge difference. Like, I'm noticing something already, Shira. Your movement pattern is like, yo. So you finished in tech, so you go to Israel for 17 and a half years. So what do you do when you get out to Israel?
Okay, so to preface this, even though I was studying textiles, I was spending all night in the computer lab.
Okay.
This was in 91, 92 that I was spending all night in the computer lab. I graduated in 93. Okay. So that was in the days of ICQ and the days of IRC.
I was gonna, can you break those down? I haven't heard of those acronyms.
Immediate relay chat is IRC.
Okay.
And it's basically, it was like the pre-version of Twitter.
Got it.
Right.
And when Twitter was actually conversational and didn't suck.
Yeah.
So, so those were the early days of it. And I was spending all night in the computer lab on Mosaic, which was the pre-browser, like early days of all this stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And then we moved to, I moved to Israel. I worked in fashion the first year, but the company I worked for, well, they didn't have a website. So I built it for them. And they didn't have, like, there was a whole bunch of things they didn't have. So I created all of it. Then tech started to really boom in Israel, in Tel Aviv. And they didn't have any Americans there back in those days because there were suicide bombers every week. Right. And like, you had to be kind of insane to move. So I found a job in tech. And that was it. That was the beginning of it.
Whoa. Wait, we've got to go back. Whoa. So first question I want to ask, right, is, were you self-taught all those things? So you said the company needed a website, you built it. So you self-taught yourself in those early days? Like, it wasn't a WordPress, there weren't things like that?
It wasn't WordPress. It was, you did everything on HTML. There wasn't even
HTML. That's it. Yeah.
It was nothing.
Yeah, back in the day when you wanted to learn computers, it was like the main things was JavaScript, HTML, and like C+ or something like that. You would just learn that. Yeah. Wow. But I mean, still, like he said though, so you taught yourself this, right? Yeah. You go out there now, you find a job, and it's funny how life is, right? You can start off one thing and just move somewhere else, and life just kind of takes you where it takes you. So now you're in tech, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm in tech.
So you're in full throttle tech, and now you've built the website for, the company. You've shown your value, right? You're kind of the go-to person, right? You're one of the only Americans out there doing it, right? So you kind of have like a niche market right now, right? You're like cornering the market out there.
So I switched jobs over to the first tech company that I worked for. The one that I built the website for was in fashion.
Okay. Got it. Makes sense.
The new company that I worked for, they brought me in to be a web marketer.
Okay.
That was my first job.
Than a designer.
It's different than a designer.
Right.
So I'd never done marketing before. They brought me in to do web marketing. They brought me in to do writing. And I became a content web marketer. And that's where it all started. They had a plugin for, oh my God, remembering this. They had a plugin that they wanted seeded. So they built greeting cards. A greeting card site that people would use, and you had to download the plugin to be able to see the animation in the greeting card. Okay, there wasn't a lot of
I'm gonna think of the name. That's the Flash player. That's
but it was pre-Flash player.
Right. But I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. Real player was what it was back in the day.
Yeah, I know the one.
Okay, like early days. So we were in this discussion to get this, and the thing is that the guys who founded the company were all from these really exclusive units in the army, because that's how Israel works, right? You get trained up, and you're either in 8200, which is one unit, or you're in Talpiot. Like you're in one of these units, right? And they all kind of know each other. So this company was founded by people from those units, and there was a job that had to get done, and the only person who could really do it because of the language and everything else was me. And that was to write all of the greeting cards. And that was also, quite frankly, my job. So, and it had to be done within 2 weeks. And there was a lot to do. I slept on the floor of the office for like 2 weeks. I went home, went to the gym, worked out, went home, showered, went back to the office. Like I basically lived in the office for 2 weeks. And my work ethic made my name. And that helped me get all of the other jobs since, and then grew my name in Israel. Which helped me out when I moved back to the States finally.
Message.
Wow. It sounded like a message.
That sounded like a message to me.
Because sure, I want to go. I want to go so many places. I want to dive into your marketing experience, right? Because I'm a marketer's marketer. I love stuff like that. But I also want to know, just as an American, like, what was it like just to live in Israel at that time when you're saying there's bombers and all, like, suicide? Like, as being one of the few Americans out there, what was the day-to-day life? What was a day in a life like?
And you had never been there before that, too. So this is
learning
it twice before.
Got it.
Okay.
I'd visited once before, and I had spent a summer there before.
Oh, okay.
So I'd been twice before. The reason why I moved was because, quite frankly, I don't come from money. And back in those days, I couldn't even afford to call, right? To call was long distance. It was expensive. Yeah. So it was either I move or I don't see or talk to anybody. And I had nieces and a nephew and things that were going on. And like, you don't want to be far from that, right?
Yeah.
So I moved over for that reason. Where was I? We were going on about
about that, like a day in the life of like, how do you navigate as an American there?
So life in Israel, when I got there, look, yes, the suicide bombings were going on. You kind of knew what buses they tended to hit. So unfortunately, one of the buses I had to take to work, because you're not, back in those days, you weren't driving. Cars in Israel are minimum twice the price they are in the US for the exact same car. So it's like 100% tax. And gas is double the price it is here as well. And you don't get paid as well. So it's expensive to live there and to do things. So I would take the bus to work and then I would walk home. And the 25 bus was one that often got hit. So I had to consider like my hours of when I was going. So that's why I only took it in the morning and I didn't take it in the afternoon. But Tel Aviv's a gorgeous city and it's really nice to walk through. So I just took it as, all right, I'll walk home.
Sure, I'm scared for you now as you tell the story. I don't know what are you talking.
I don't want to say nothing about it. Like, if you're scared they're gonna bomb the bus, you're walking home at night.
I'll be shaking like, holding the handrail.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, how was you just walking home at night? They hit the bus in broad daylight, and you were walking home at night by yourself, and you wasn't afraid. Like,
no, because it's a very safe city. In terms of that, I wasn't like on that side of it. I was in Tel Aviv for what, 4 or 5 years before we moved, after I got married. And there was one time where there was a serial rapist out of all of those years. Okay. One time. Like the news was talking about him and everything else, and then caught relatively quickly. That's generally not an issue in Tel Aviv.
Wow.
So
I mean, you're still a great woman. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. You still rolled the dice with even taking the bus in the morning time. You know, with you just having that information,
I know.
I might have just walked to work and walked home too. Like, just get up a little earlier.
Well, yeah. Well, getting up early is not my strong suit.
I'm gonna say we talking. We from New York. We didn't see like we didn't see everything but a bombing. Like, what the hell? But that it was just as it being foreign. Obviously, you go in there, you betting on yourself. You going to be around family, and then you to fall into a niche, right? For you to fall into computers like that, right? You're into architecture, and then you get into computers. You really find out that you have a passion for that, and then you find a niche, and then you end up creating a great reputation for yourself, right? So from there, what happens when you create the reputation? So word gets around this. The Shira's here. She created our website. She does really great work. She busts her tail. What are some of those relationships and opportunities that presented themselves as a result?
So funny enough, I never built a website again.
That was one time.
One and done.
I'm not mad.
I did, however, do plenty of times. Well, me personally, my team does now, but back in that side of it, never again. But in terms of like, look, it was a matter of, it started off with, they found out about the work ethic. Then I started worked with a few other companies. Then I went for my MBA from Kellogg. And at the time it was Kellogg Recanati at Tel Aviv University. And then somehow, and I started doing a lot of consulting from Kellogg. And then I got asked to be a founding mentor of Google Campus, which is the Google Accelerator that started in Tel Aviv. And
Nice.
also I got asked at about the same time to be a founding mentor of Microsoft Ventures Accelerator. Again,
Wow.
an accelerator in Tel Aviv. Now, these were both volunteer positions, but I, quite frankly, enjoyed the volunteering. I felt like I wanted to give back to the community that gave me the opportunity in the first place. I fell into tech and I felt like I found my people.
Paying it forward. Paid it forward.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean,
You do one more.
the stars couldn't have aligned better than that. I'm be honest with you. Like, just look at the series of events that she said that has happened already. She moved there, found this, found that, and just it never slowed down.
But to identify those two companies that you would volunteer for is even equally as impressive, right? To know that the Microsoft and the Google, it could have been any other company, right? It could have been any software, SaaS company, anything like that. But for you to find the search engine, that's going to be the search engine, and then volunteer there.
In all fairness, Microsoft has been Microsoft
For a while now.
For a while, yes. But
Even
not Google.
even at that time, remember at that time, Apple, the operating system, Mac, which was Macintosh, it wasn't as big. It was only Microsoft. Like in those early days, it was only PC based. Really, like you understand, like the Apple wasn't even really like, you know.
At this point,
Apple.
Google was Google.
No, that's Google's still like
Okay.
PC based though. You know, remember the operate. You know, it still runs on that operating system. That's what I was saying. So Microsoft was still Microsoft at that point. You knew who they were. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
It's still fire.
So
It is. What I took from it even more so that I zeroed in on is the fact that she volunteered for not one. So you could have taken just Google and said, this is going to fill my plate by itself. Microsoft could have filled your plate by itself, and you volunteered for both of them.
Yeah, they both reached out, and I said yes to both.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you was like, I'm not afraid of the work, and that's what, you know, like, again, her testament to how hard she works. One person would have been like, okay, one is enough, you know, but to do two.
And they reached out to you.
Right.
That's beautiful.
They called me.
And at the same time as that, I started to travel to Europe regularly to speak in conferences.
Okay.
So all of this ended up being like a whole system of growing my name and reputation. Mm-hmm. It all ended up being brand building and thought leadership. It wasn't necessarily the intention. It just ended up, I'm very lucky in general when it comes to things like this. So thank goodness. And so, you know, I mean, I would speak at one place and they go, oh, you did a great job. Do you want to speak here? Yes, 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 yes. You just keep saying yes and things grow, right? You also get a reputation of, oh, well, you know, she's nice. She's this, you know, she'll fill in on something, whatever. So, you know, helpful. I do my best to try and be helpful. And then from there, I gave a guest lecture over at Tel Aviv Yafo Academic College on marketing. And I said to the advisor at the time, the man who actually headed the whole department, I said to him, have you thought about having a class on this? And he goes, actually, we have somebody doing it, but I'm not really pleased with their work. Are you interested? And I went, yes. So then I started teaching.
Solving the problem.
I
just want to sneak something in there also, you know, just sneak it in, right? Even if you know you didn't take the accelerator programs like all the way up, they still look phenomenal on a resume. They still look phenomenal on a resume.
They do. I mean, I haven't had a resume in a while, but
no, I'm saying at that time, though, at that time, right? Let's say that the programs didn't work out. You could say, hey, I worked for Microsoft and did their accelerator program. You can say I worked for Google and did that. I'm just saying that looks, you know, great on a resume at that time when you might have needed a resume.
but that's a perfect segue though, right? So as you were building your brand, right? What was that moment when you started your own business, right? What was that eureka moment for you to say, I have to start my own?
So I started my own business. Okay, this is funny. I had both my boys. And then, and I was doing a mommy job basically at home because I wanted to be home with my kids. Okay. And a friend of mine reached out to me that I grew up with from Huntington. And he's like, we need you. He was at Warner Enterprises. He was the VP of a division that I cannot remember now. This is years ago. All right, this before I moved to the States, and I've been back in the States for 9 years. So it was a while ago. All right, and my sons are now 17 and 19. So keep that in mind. Like my son was about a year old, not even a year old when I started doing this. So my youngest, so 16 years ago.
Wow.
And he's like, I really need you for this. And I'm like, why, you know, he needed a technical writer. And I'm like, I'm a marketing writer. I don't know technical writing.
Right.
And he's like, I'll pay you this. And I went, I'll go buy a book. And
yeah, for that number, I'll learn.
Shit. That number.
She said, for that number, I'll learn. And, and after that conversation, she said,
I have my curiosity.
Yes.
I love it.
Quite frankly, I did. And
Right.
so I worked with him for 2 years. We set up their technical writing. We removed their silos, because what he needed was more than just technical writing. They had a technical writer who had worked with him for 3 months, and that technical writer didn't work out. And they needed somebody who could not just do the technical writing, but train internally and also evangelize documentation. Because if you have everything standardized and you have everyone actually doing it, you reduce silos. You also speed up time on everything. When everybody's using the same form, it takes actually 17 seconds off per page. When it comes to reading and reviewing things. Yeah. And you do that over, you know, this team was over 150 people. You do that over a large enough team. That's real time taken off from being used over the year. That really brings in some efficiencies.
Yeah.
So I understood why he needed a marketer to take this, when it's, you know, when you would think, why would this? Because it's a different personality.
Yeah.
You know, you need somebody who actually goes out there, and I interviewed the entire team. I interviewed all the different people. I did the training. I did all the on-site things, and then the work on the other side of it. And then I built my own team to work. And because I was in Israel at the time, I had people working for me in Israel, and, you know, took the delta between what they paid and what I was able to pay in Israel. And that was the, you know, first couple of years for my kids. And in the middle of that, I started at Kellogg. Wow. So that was my first company. That was Abel Communications back in the day. So, yeah.
I asked, we had a do on the show. I got to ask you, because again, you know, us as entrepreneurs also, I've been an entrepreneur for the good part of 20 years. And, you know, when you talk to anybody that had any type of success in entrepreneurship, everybody talks about the hard work, the long work days, and things of that nature. Now you're doing this with 2 young children, right? And you're not saying no, right? So I'm gonna ask, because some people don't, you know, how many hours do you sleep a day, right? What's a work day look like for you?
So here, okay, now. No,
I'm talking about back then. Yeah.
Back then, what I did was I grabbed people with 30 years of experience who had more experience than me in technical writing. They did the actual work. I did the management. Back then, I worked between 20 to 30 hours a week and took care of my kids.
Gotcha.
That
was smart. Allocated.
Super smart.
That was super smart.
But I was only able to do that because of the delta. Right? I was only able to do that because the difference between what I was getting paid and what the highest going rate in Israel was, there was a difference there. So I could make money while they were doing the work.
That makes sense.
Message.
It deserves another one.
No, because that takes insight to do that.
Yeah, I
basically insight to do that. Yeah,
had some arbitrage so that I could go and make a small profit and work and not necessarily make as much money as, you know, overall, but they get a better product because they get people who have significantly more experience than I have.
Right.
And then I get to do what I'm good at, which is the evangelizing and the training and the marketing
and the management.
And the management. Right.
Yeah.
So they were able to get what they really needed and at the price of an independent contractor back in those days. That's what they would have been paying somebody in the States, but the person in the States wouldn't have been able to bring all the things that we brought together as a team.
Makes sense. Filling the void. Filling the void again.
Or like giving them a warm and fuzzy. I love it. I love it. I mean, because she knew that she would have to wear multiple hats, and she knew that she didn't want to do that because she wanted her priority was her family. So she found a way. And Jarrett just put up a post the other day with him wearing like 7 different hats, right? That's why this is a great segue into that story, because that's the story that we're telling, right? When you start out, yes, you have to do a lot of things, or you have to figure out a way to delegate those things off to give you more free time to, to do what you feel like is important at the moment.
Yeah, and another takeaway too is just like you said, the hard work and the relationships, right? So you was able to build the relationships, and that's kind of to give you some. I think we said it off air, but that's how we started our personal brand. I was like, man, when I first came into sales, they were like, "What's your black book like?" I'm like, I don't have a book. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to power down and get some deals, and that's what it was. So over the years, you develop those relationships, you develop that, and I'm like, how can I scale that, right? Because I maybe have 10 good friends in the industry, but I don't want to ask my friends that I really, really have good relationships with. They might not be able to help me. So how can I improve the numbers? So we go on LinkedIn. We end up creating content. We end up developing that. Then we end up developing the podcast and all those other things, right? So you were doing that early through word of mouth, right? So I'm curious, like, where did the idea of the podcast came from? Because you already had a successful business, right? And then you pivoted to another successful business. So what was that transition like?
So the first podcast was SaaS Insider. I'm actually starting the second podcast now, ABM Insider. SaaS Insider was for 2 years. And it was lead gen for the early stages of the agency. And gosh, I mean, there were so many different interviews. It was also just so much learning. There were so many golden nuggets in like almost every single podcast. I keep them up because they're still getting listened to. Yeah. So yeah.
So how long ago was that though? I'm sorry.
That was a few years ago.
A few years ago, right? Like
and now the new one's just started. We just finished episode 4. We're not going to release until we've got a season all edited and done, so that we could do one right after the other for 12 weeks. But we're doing that one now.
But what made you want to start that though? Because back then there were only it was very rare for agency, especially an agency, right? So that's what happened with my brand, right? So when I was developing a personal brand on LinkedIn, the pandemic happened. My pipeline went from 700,000 to 0, and I'm like, oh no, like I still have a quota. What am I going to do? So why don't I utilize this brand and just have people come on the show, tell me about their story, tell me about your expertise, and then build a relationship, and maybe you want to throw me a bone on the back end. And if that happens, it happens. But you thought about that way before then. Before then, what people were doing was creating content, blogs. They were, just pumping content out, but it wasn't podcasting. So where did that idea, like, did you see somebody? Where did you get that idea?
I listened to podcasts. I listened to NPR.
NPR.
I love
early
NPR.
ones.
A lot of people don't like. I love NPR.
Who doesn't? Okay.
A lot of people don't even know about NPR, but I love NPR.
NPR is phenomenal.
Yeah.
NPR is great. And also, so in college for a little while, I was a DJ. And I was a DJ also for a little while after. So I actually prefer to be listened to than to be seen.
Okay.
Although I've gone up on a million stages, I like the podcast because it's not on video. This new podcast is on video. That means I have to put on makeup every single time I'm on a podcast, which I don't do in my daily. So there's a cost to it, but it's fine.
There's a cost.
Yeah. What year did you initially start this the first podcast, the SAS Insider?
Oh, SAS Insider was what year? It's been gone for a while now. Let's see. I want to say,
I'm asking this because you probably started it around the time also when podcasts weren't really booming like they are now.
Exactly.
They weren't.
That's what I'm saying, right?
I think it was like around maybe 2017, maybe even earlier than that.
Okay, right.
Wow.
Yeah, before the big podcast boom. You know, where every like now everybody knows what a podcast, or let's not say
now it's more mainstream.
It's more mainstream.
Yeah.
For a long time, like and what got me into podcasting and stuff like that was NPR, right?
Yeah.
Because you know, I would listen to a lot of their like crime dramas. You know, those crime drama shows. That I almost, you know, they almost got away. The serial killer, right? And I don't know. It's just like the voice, right? You are listening to NPR. Yeah, listen, you know, it's just the voice and everything was like so well put together. And I used to just, I really enjoyed it. Like on my rides home, because I live an hour from the city, I would listen to them. So that was like my introduction to actually like podcasts and stuff like that was NPR. And then they're very informative also. They do a lot of discovery pieces and a lot of you know, information pieces about like the voting and what's going on in other countries and stuff. So it's almost like the audio channel 13. You know what I'm saying?
The audio PBS.
Right, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the PBS of audio, you know what I mean? Like
it is though. That's exactly what it is. And
yeah.
I would listen to things like Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Right.
And I would listen to Freakonomics and there's Radiolab.
I love Radiolab.
Like, but I listened to the old Radiolab, which I have to say I think is better than the new one. And you know, it was phenomenal. And I got very into all of that. And that was the impetus for getting me to do the podcast in the first place. I'm like, I want to do that. That's cool.
Then what was your favorite episode? Or what was one of the biggest gems you got through the course of doing the first podcast?
Oh, okay. So there was somebody from Amsterdam who gave us his whole way of pulling in through the funnel. And he was able to do it in a way that it was in the early days of when we were seeing like GDPR compliance about to come in.
Yeah.
You had to be very careful about how you grabbed information. Right. I can't remember his name, but that one was definitely the best. Oh my goodness, how he did that. And then another one, and this is, you know, you think that this is just total common sense, but it's a really good rule of thumb. And that was the one that told me for every tactic he tries, if it doesn't work, he tries it 2 other ways.
For every tactic that doesn't work, he tries it 2 other ways.
Okay. And you know, it's stupid. You would think, oh, that makes total sense. And yet for some reason, I was like, because you can't cut something out just because you've tried it once. You may have done it wrong, especially if you've never done it before.
Right.
So you have to try it at least 2 other ways to really count it out. And then if something, and this is more common sense, just because you've stopped on something doesn't mean you shouldn't try it again a little while later to see if maybe it's a tactic that works now. For example, everybody was talking about before the pandemic that email was dead.
Yeah.
Then the pandemic happened. Suddenly, email worked really well because we were all stuck at home. Now, email is back to, you know, it depends. Can you get in their inbox? How well can you get in their inbox? Because half the time now, you know, you're getting a false open or whatever. So there's all of that. It depends on the size of the company you're sending the email to. It depends on the title. It depends on their systems, all of these things. So there's a lot more complexity that goes to it. But for that little while in the early days of the pandemic, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Just like doing the podcast, that's the perfect time to start a podcast because we were all at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I had barely had a microphone. I had no lights. I was the first. Shout out to everybody who listened to Rankable. Thank you guys.
Yours was different. Remember, she like others, like most podcasts, hers was only audio. So you started out video right off the bat with Rankable.
And I don't know why. There was no rhyme or reason.
No, I'm just saying though, you could have started out audio like she said. Like I don't have to get dressed, I don't have to do nothing. I can just get behind the mic and say what I want to say. There
was no video component to it. Nowadays there is.
Yeah,
it was done very differently back then.
Then as far as what are some of the best B2B podcasts you think are right now, right? Because I listen to a few ones right now. Like I like Dave Gerhardt, that's my guy. I love Chris Walker, he's one of my favorites. Like, who are some of your people in B2B that you favor right now that people should be looking out for?
Josh Braun, I think his name is.
Yeah, Josh Braun. He's a sales guy.
My God, do I love him? Yeah. Okay, I am obsessed with everything sales. All right. I am obsessed with everything sales because I do sales for the agency and I come from a marketing background, not a sales background. So I am a sales obsessed marketer. And I admittedly don't actually listen to B2B podcasts, I instead watch that type of material on TikTok, which I am addicted to. So there's another guy, I can't remember names, but
Josh Braun is definitely one.
I think Josh Braun's my favorite.
I like Chris Orlob from Gong. He's a good one.
Udi from Gong, he's also good.
Yeah,
so
shout out to Udi.
That's our guy.
He was actually our first guest on More Than a Title.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Udi was our first guest. Yeah. Good dude.
Oh, and Latane does good content also from Sixth Sense. She's amazing. So there's a few people who are putting stuff out there that's really good. John Miller. Names. Grabbing names is just
no, all good.
I was thinking about what she was saying as far as like, because I was thinking about like the career and how her career kind of like navigated itself. And I was thinking about like, because for a lot of people, working for somebody else is so much easier. It's so much like less stress. You punch the clock, you do what you're told to do. You can be a phenomenal worker and a just absolute terrible entrepreneur, right? But for you, it almost seems like it was just destined to happen because you were just so involved in managing and kind of like stepping back and kind of delegating anyway. For you to open up your own, seemed like it was an inevitability, right? But now the time for you to press go, right? So it's a difference. Now you're delegating, but the time for you to press go, what was that moment when you're like, okay, let's make this a reality? What was that moment?
So Hunter and Bard came about because my friend Sarah came to me and said, let's do an agency. And she introduced me to her friend Dana, and then both of them skipped out, and I was on my own.
What? What? Hold on. Let's go back.
Right.
And they ran off.
Right. So they brought it to you and said, let's do it, and then stop showing up for work. What happened?
Well, Sarah got headhunted by her dream nonprofit.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Her. And then Dina got headhunted by one of her old clients before she came into the company. And she's like, I'm too stressed right now. I need this. I need stability from this. And okay. And then it was me. And I took it there and I did more consulting in the very, very beginning because this was in Israel. It was actually started in 2011. And so I started with the consulting and the speaking, and I got taken a ton for consulting. It was amazing and was flying everywhere and was super busy and it was phenomenal. And then my mom had a stroke and we ended up moving to the States, and I had to start all over again with nothing.
Wow. That is damn. And get to it fast enough. I was looking for my sound.
I want to, another thing, before you said it a bunch of times, I just want to touch bases on it because we share this in common. We are big on family. Me and Jarrett, we're huge on family, right? So when you say a lot of these things that you've done, that just shows how not only are you connected with your family, but you are willing to go the distance for your family. I got to give you a round of applause for that, because I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people that start to get to a certain level of success, right, would not. You flew halfway around the world. You were already here. Then you left to be with family. Then you left there to come back and start over. I'm just going to be honest. Like, not many people would have done that, because when you came back, now you're coming back with a family, a husband and children. It's different than doing it by yourself. And you're like, ain't nothing to hold me back. I ain't got no responsibility. I can go. So I just want to applaud you for that.
Always always betting on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You bet on yourself multiple times, and it's been 40 minutes. I've heard at least 4.
I'm gonna be honest right now. We gotta send a bet on yourself shirt. We gotta find out your size at the end. We're gonna find out your size and your favorite colors. You might have to get a custom bet on yourself shirt, because that's our one of our monikers. Bet on yourself. We have it on our clothing brand, so we definitely got to send you one of those, because you definitely embody the bet on yourself spirit. I just want to applaud you for that. Okay, so you come back to the States, you start all over, right?
Yep.
You're taking care of mom.
Yep. Well, at this point, she's now living about a mile from us.
Okay.
At that point, she was still somewhere else, and we were working to get ourselves settled so that we could move her closer by. We've finally gotten there. So now she's about a mile away. But it took a while to get there. So when we first got here, look, most people, when they move to California, first of all, they don't move to Los Altos, which is one of the most expensive areas in the middle of Silicon Valley. They also normally move with a company. We did not. We moved with our own savings. We wiped out by moving.
Shit.
Damn!
We both did it at the same time.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we had some of these conversations earlier, like about money and what you're willing to do.
We literally just had this conversation on camera.
One thing we don't do is lie. We literally had that conversation earlier about what are you willing to give up for success, or to make something happen. And you're like, I didn't even move with the company's money. I moved with my own money.
Yeah. So like my husband works, but he didn't work that first year.
Right.
So it was just living off of savings. I worked 24 hours a day. He's very supportive. He handled absolutely everything in the house. And then we got the kids all settled in school, all of this, and he found work. And within 3 years, we had gotten on the precipice of complete failure like 4 times. And then hit a high point. Things were going well, and we were able to buy the house. We moved to the East Bay after buying the house, and without selling our house in Israel, might I add, we still have that. So yeah, so we really hustled, quite frankly. We just hustled like crazy, saved, didn't do a lot. We never traveled anywhere. We gave up a whole bunch of things because you don't get everything, right? You get so much, and then you have to choose what you're going to be doing with what you get. And you have to allocate your resources in a way that makes sense. And we put all of that towards the house and the house. Yeah. So there you go. And then once we moved to Lafayette, which is where we live now, I basically put all of my eggs, I was doing fractional CMO work. After that, I went 100% agency and just focused on the agency work.
Wow. So I'm curious. So when you made the bet on yourself, you said there's highs, lows, there's peaks and valleys, says entrepreneurship thing, right? What were one of those low moments, and how did you overcome that?
She said, "I'm just 4, bro."
That's what I'm saying. So what is one of those that you don't mind sharing with them? Right. That's one that you don't mind sharing with them. How do you overcame it? Because I'm curious about the mindset and what you did to push through.
When I'm on the edge of something, I hustle until I reach the other side. I don't stop. I'm a miniature pit bull with lockjaw. Basically, I'm just like, I'm going to go after this, and I'm going to get it, and I am not going to fail.
Sure, I felt that when you said that. I literally felt that when you said that. That was real.
I have to give a special shout out to your husband also, because just listen to what you were saying. Like, you were working damn near 24 hours a day, and he held it down, right? Yeah. He held it down. We've spoken to so many people, men and, women from both sides that will say, listen, success sometimes will break the family. It will break the family. Yeah. If you're not on the same page, if you don't have that same vision of what success looks like, it could tear you apart, right? And you have children. So, shout out to your support system. Of your husband, because he, without that, you had the freedom and the mental capacity to say, I don't have to worry about this. I can take this off my plate. Yep. He's gonna hold me down. He's gonna make sure we're good. I can concentrate on doing what I need to do.
But not I think also, but not letting it break you. Even before it gets to the family, like you had the mindset, I'm gonna keep on pushing. I'm gonna make this and there's times like we literally just had this conversation today, right? You could have went and got a job. You could have got a nice cushion salary somewhere. You could keep doing fractional CMO work. Yeah, you're like, I'm betting on me again, right? Yeah. So it's like for that, I applaud you on that. Like that's
absolutely.
The funny thing is, in entrepreneurship, you get enough sleepless nights, right?
I'm on 3 hours right now.
No, listen, like
seriously.
You know how they say, like, when you're younger, right? When you're like a little kid, you rush to get old, right? Because you want to do adult things where you feel like I can do without asking, right?
Mhm.
But then when you become an adult, right? People always say, would you do it all over again? Like, would you want to go back and then, you know, the older I get, the more my answer is like, no, I wouldn't want to be like younger again. Like I had fun at those times, but mentally where I am now is completely different than where I was back then. You understand what I'm saying? And that only comes with the experience of life that you go through.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what sharpens you. That's what, you know, toughens you up. So, you know, like to do the entrepreneur thing is just in itself is just like, it's a leap of faith. And he's telling you that because we had this conversation. We were on a conference call with our other partner for about an hour today, having this conversation about how, you know, a lot of people are just not built for this life.
No,
because it's very strenuous.
Yeah.
But you know, it's also. Have you read about Steve Jobs' book and his reality distortion field?
No, I've seen the book a couple of times, but I never read it.
Okay, so there's a whole thing in there about his reality distortion field. Basically, he had this idea around him, and that this is reality, even if it wasn't. Right. And he kind of created his reality as he wanted it to be. I can say I have my own smaller. I don't have the ego of Steve Jobs, but or quite frankly, I haven't built up an Apple, but I have my own version of a reality distortion field, which just gives me the confidence. My husband's never lost a moment of sleep, of stress. He's just like, "Go get it done." Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's big.
That is big.
It's nice. It's good to know that I've got that much support behind me and faith. Right. So even when I'm freaking out, and the other thing is like, everybody else has now I've been doing it for a while, right? So everybody else is like, yeah, okay, stop freaking out. We've heard this all before. You'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me ask you a question. You know, now that, you know, obviously you're at this level, you have the experience, you could actually duplicate, you know, your success a bunch of times in a multitude of ways. But coming up, did you have somebody that, because I didn't hear you speak of somebody that kind of inspired you. Did you have somebody that kind of helped to mentor you, or somebody that kind of inspired you when you were coming up through the ranks?
Honestly, I ended up doing all of this back in the day because my oldest son has a severe learning disability, and I just didn't want to leave him.
Okay.
So, like I said, again, family. He's got a learning disability. It was going to take a lot of time and more money than what either of us were making. And so I knew that my focus had to be on making money. And I looked between my husband and I, and he does well, but I had the potential to go further just through our own backgrounds. He's an engineer. He's very focused in what he does. And so, yeah, I mean, I went, all right, my son's going to need this. I'm going to go get it done. That's how it got started. It really wasn't from I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. It was I'm going to take care of my son.
Family.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Hayes just asked you, what is Pavilion? So Hayes, what Pavilion is basically a membership group for like CEOs and C-suite, right? Shout out to Sam Jacobs and the team over there. So it's only C-suite, right?
No. They've actually got associate pavilion and they've got executive pavilion. So if you're an associate, so if you're a junior and you're just starting your career, it's a brilliant thing to spend the money and be part of a think tank. You get the network and you get all of the education. I recommend it highly.
Yeah, remember Veronique talked about it, right? Remember she was a member of the
Pavilion and YPO.
And she said it helped her immensely, you know.
Yeah, I'm also a member of EO.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Is there certain requirements? I know YPO has a certain requirement, right? You have to be at a certain revenue to join the club. Like Pavilion's not like that, right?
No, Pavilion's not like that, but EO is. Yeah.
EO is okay.
Yeah.
And what is that revenue number, if you don't mind me asking? I don't know if I'm there, but when I get there, I want to join.
That's not the answer. See, that's not the answer. You gotta lead, you gotta follow her lead. You gotta say, put your bubble out and say, I'm gonna get there. Tell me the number.
We're going to get there.
So that's what I like this. I'll tell you, okay, for the junior EO, I think is $400K in annual revenue. So above that. And then EO is $1 million and above.
Okay. Yeah, I think Veronique said $1 million. Yeah.
Yeah. We're close to junior.
Yeah, so you get there. You get there.
Once you get there,
I'm a toddler.
Look,
they actually put you in a whole accelerator to help you get to the main EO.
Wow.
Oh, that's beneficial.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So again, you know, from a lot of these interviews, also, without saying it directly, you're just pointing at like education and networking. Never stop learning, right? Never stop learning, right? If you don't know something, get a book, right? So you can see the studio behind me, right? So when you said a lot of these things, me and Jarrett also do music, right? I'm a little older,
He's old. That boy old. That was a real cough. He wasn't joking. That was a real cough. He really has a cough.
So I started doing music when I was about 19, 20, when I was in California, and before I came back to New York. And when I came back to New York, I started to immerse myself. But a lot of it is self-taught. A lot of the things that I know, I would do the same thing, right? I would actually lock myself in the house for about 6 months, buy like 2 or 3 books, you know, buy some equipment and just sit there and read and okay, that didn't work. Let me try it again. And that didn't work. Yep. So when you said that keynote about I buy a book, that hit me directly, because that's been me a lot of the times, right? I've taken a lot of jobs and stuff like that. We're like, you know how to do this, you know how to do that, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I don't know what you talk, but I'm gonna learn it and I'm gonna immerse myself until I learn it. So that's a very valuable gem, man. Like, never stop learning and never be afraid to, you know, have a network of people that are smarter than you. Because she also said that, right?
Yeah.
And I went out and got people that had 30 years in the business, way smarter than me, way more experience, and I had them help me out because I knew that they could do a better job than me in the moment. And I just managed them. So know your strengths and your weaknesses also.
Absolutely.
Dropping a lot of gems. We're gonna clip this up.
Yeah. No, we definitely
We're dropping a lot of gems right now. I'm telling you. We're period in. The period in school is in session right now.
For sure, I do, because I asked you about the biggest obstacles you overcame.
Yeah.
What is one of the biggest success stories from your business that you could, if you don't mind sharing with us? Like, what was the warm and fuzzy that you got for your business that you was like, I'm so glad I walked through door number 1?
So I've had a few. We're pretty lucky that way. I would say one of them, in the early days, I worked with AXA Tech. AXA is one of the largest insurance firms in the world. And AXA, and they're based, this was when I was still in Israel. And I did training for their entrepreneurship program. And this was, oh God, I don't even know what year this was. I want to say this was 2012, 2013, something like that, 2011. And I was going back and forth to Paris because their office was in La Défense in Paris. So that was amazing. Okay. That was truly phenomenal company, but also a huge break to get. He found me through LinkedIn because I had entrepreneurship on my profile in those days, because it was something that I was obsessed with at the time. So I was talking a lot about entrepreneurship and all of this. So my thought leadership content that I was putting out brought me in somebody. And
that's it.
So that's one. And I'll say the other one.
Before you continue, I gotta give you a bell. Gotta give you a bell. Because that's what we do. Yeah, content drives business and opportunity. You got that at 2012, 2013, back when it was just like a webinar. You just go to LinkedIn with just to verify somebody. Like, you did that then. Like, wow.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then I'd say the other one was when I spoke at Content Marketing World.
Okay.
That was amazing. That was huge. That ended up landing as Sheldon as a client, and I built a relationship with Lee Keen. He brought us over to UL when he moved companies, and that changed the trajectory of the company as well. So that was amazing. And then we worked with UL for years, when we turned into UL Solutions, and it was phenomenal. So
isn't Content Marketing World Scott Brinker?
Content Marketing World was
I think that's if it's Scott Brinker who owns, I'm pretty sure it is.
Sold. It was sold to someone. It was owned by Oh gosh, names again.
She just told you she's not good with names.
I'm
no,
not so bad.
I work for Scott Brinker.
I know my own.
Yeah.
No, I work for Scott Brinker's brand. So that's we was going to speak
gotcha.
at content marketing world. So I'm like, is that the same one? Because there's so many different marketing world ones, right? It's like social content. It's a few.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the LinkedIn for the win again. Man. For the win again.
Seriously.
Yeah. So, now I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, right? So, okay, I hear about the hard work. I hear about the dedication. You're working hard. You're doing all of these things, but what are you doing to relax? What does Shira like to do to relax, right? Because pressure bust pipes, right? You gotta relax. Don't tell me you never relax. We had a guy, one of our guys. I don't really relax. I just keep it's impossible.
No.
What does Shira like
relax.
to do to right? What does Shira like to do to relax?
Gardening.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then a couple weekends ago, I went down south to go visit one of my best friends that I grew up with. And the thing is when I go visit Lori, she is somebody who runs 6 miles a day. So I don't know if you'd call this relaxing, but when I go with her, when I'm always visiting her, whatever, there's hikes. We are hiking somewhere. She is basically kicking my ass and making me hike or walk or whatever more than I feel comfortable with at an inclination I'm ready to die on, and usually at an elevation that makes me wonder why I go visit her in the first place.
She's a fitness buff. I love her.
She's a total fitness buff. So that is what I do to relax. I will go and I'll either, I'll go visit somebody, and usually there's hiking involved, or I'll go into my garden, take my dog for a walk, or honestly play all the games that they have on New York Times.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Listen, everybody has to have a release point. That's all I'm saying. Like sometimes people are like, oh, I don't never do nothing. That's impossible.
Korean dramas.
Korean dramas.
Korean dramas.
I wasn't expecting that one.
Oh my God.
Once again, like I was over here with you, and then you went all the way over here, like Korean dramas. You got to explain.
Over the pandemic, I couldn't travel, and I was used to traveling, and I couldn't go anywhere. So I started going, all right, let's watch some foreign television, and I fell into the Korean drama. And it was so good that I got my business partner into them, and she got so into Korean dramas, she's learning Korean.
Really?
I'm so serious.
I want to say I would try, but I can't lie.
I've spent the total of the good part of, let's say, about 6 months in Korea total. Obviously not the North, not the North, right? But Korea is beautiful, and we enjoy Korea. Gotta put it out there, right?
As if there was even an option, but okay.
Kim Jong-un is not my homie.
We're not Dennis Rodman?
Right, I'm not Dennis Rodman, right? But I don't know. I've never watched a Korean drama. Like
they're so good.
Yeah, like, and then like
so good.
Their language. We were studying Japanese when we were out there also, because we were in Japan. So the language is similar to not that's similar. Yeah.
감사합니다 in Korean, and then in Japanese it's domo arigatou gozaimasu. They sound anyway.
If you so the way for us, because I'm half Latin, so I spoke Spanish, so when we were learning Japanese, right? And not the opera this guy like that, we were learning it. It was easier because you can speak with the Spanish tongue, so it was easier to flow. So once you started to get a handle for Japanese, like we started to learn the numbers of ichi, ichi, san, chi, yoke, like that. Then when we went to Korea, it was easier to pick up the
Squid Games was Korean.
He said it's Squid Games.
That's the only one I knew. That's the only, I didn't want to throw it out there. I didn't want to be respectful.
And I've never seen Squid Games because that's not the type of show I watch.
Right. No,
not a Korean drama.
I'm just saying, like, dramas, like, you have to put on the captions, and it was like voiceovers, right?
No, I watch captions. I sit on the rower and I watch it with captions.
Okay.
because the rower is loud, so I need to have it where I can't watch an English show because to not hear it, to hear it fuzzy and to not like, because it's a water rower, so it makes a noise when, yeah. So.
I love it. I love. Listen, I love, you can't box her in. I'm just telling you.
I love it.
The moment she paints a picture and you're like, oh, that's a Basquiat. She's like, no, it's not a Basquiat. You know, it's way over here. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. Like, I love it, man. I love it. So, all right. So now let me ask you this, right? So now, you know, like you said, I know the reason that you did it. And now, like I said, you did it for your family and you've become this, you know, a success. Are there any mentorships that you actually are involved in now that you're helping younger women or even younger men that kind of want to follow in your path? Are you involved in any like mentorships or anything right now to try to, you know, help the next generation come up?
So actually last night I did a fireside chat, which is essentially, you know, it's a talk. And I did that for The Alchemist in San Francisco. That's a VC, or not a VC, that's a accelerator in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So The Alchemist. And I've been extremely active previously. So oh gosh, all right. I have volunteered with the State Department previously with USAID to teach and mentor startups in Macedonia and Ukraine. Wow. Obviously before Ukraine was in the state, it was after Crimea, but before the Russian invasion. So it was like, I want to say 2015. Okay. And obviously all the volunteering time I did, Microsoft Ventures Accelerator, Google Campus. When I was teaching at Tel Aviv Yafo, Israel sent me over in a goodwill delegation to Spain with a large group to teach and mentor startups in Spain. Okay. I've been sent by Korea for a week from the Kimchi Fund to teach and mentor startups in Korea. I have done this continually over the years, basically. It's part of my ethos. It's something that I do ongoing because I believe in it, especially the stuff that has to do with developing regions. Because if you can get a company to grow there, that changes a nation and brings a lot of stability. I've been through so many downturns. Okay. Yeah. This gray hair is here for a reason. Like, I'm a big component in helping others learn so that they can build and we could all have a more stable and happier planet. That's just something I continually do. If I get asked to do it, I tend to say yes.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard you say no yet. This whole I was listening too. Let me see if she slip up and say she said no once. I haven't heard no yet. And heard no yet.
And I was going to ask you that, but now that you're super successful, right? Yeah. You know, you're late in your career. What does the mountaintop look like for you, or what are one of those moments for you where you can, you know, what does the next 5 years look like for you?
Next 5 years are. Well, okay, it depends.
Okay. I like that. I like the realness.
So it's either going to be growing the agency or growing the agency and working on a product that we have in mind.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, something like innovative that you're going to bring to the market?
At this point, it's just an idea. So at this point, it's nothing. It's not even, it's literally just sitting there, sitting in the back of my head going,
yeah.
Well, that's how billion-dollar life-changing inventions start.
Yeah, but until it actually comes out, it's worth nothing.
I got some. I got some for you now. Watch this. So now that you're successful, have you ever reached back out to Sarah and Hunter and say, "Hey, Sarah, hey Hunter, you remember when you left me for that?
So
when you left me for that by myself? Mama, I made
it." I'm still friends with her.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm still okay. It was her dream job. What was I going to do? I was going to say no. I wasn't going to say no. Yeah. And I'm still friends with both of them.
Okay.
And I still chat with Sarah. I'm not in Israel anymore, so I don't chat with her like I used to.
Right.
But there was no hard feelings.
Okay.
And she's still one of my favorite people. So we're still good. That's not. And I'm actually friends with her new boss. She's working now back in agency.
Okay.
And I know her boss.
Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to the
Yes.
boss. Shout out to all of them.
I mean, it's almost like a gift and a curse. I mean, without her kind of coming to you saying, let's do this, not to say that you might not have done it later, but you might not have done it in that moment.
That was your.
I probably wouldn't have done it. I'm not sure I would have done it.
And that was
honestly.
your time, yeah.
That was your sign, and you took on your blessing. It's your sign.
So there you go.
I love it, man. I love every part of it. So,
I was going to ask one. So what's the best advice that you would give to up and coming entrepreneurs right now, Shira? Somebody that's like, for ourselves, we're starting an agency. We have a similar business. We have a social media agency. We use the podcast to drive leads and build relationships. Like, what is the one biggest piece of advice you would give to OTB Digital?
Go to events in person. Build your loose network. Teach as much as you can, because you learn through teaching, quite frankly, and you get better. That would be, but the more loose connections you have, the more things can just happen with you serendipitously.
There you go. There you go.
Right there.
I want to stay for extra class.
And you know, it's funny you said that, because we are where we are today by almost following that exact model without knowing that we followed that model, right? So, for example, we're coming up on our 1 year, right? So we're not babies anymore, right? We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary. But we started the company, let's just call it November, and went to our first in-person event, where we went to learn, in January. And, you know, we've been to at least 4 or 5 events since then. And with those events, and I can say this confidently, like every event that we went to, when we met people and the knowledge that we learned, we came home and the company went up another notch, and the company went up another notch, and the company went up another notch. So much so that we're going to another event in 2 weeks. ATL, we're coming. ATL, yeah, we're going to another event. And we just came back from Florida about 2-3 weeks ago from one event, and we're going out to another event in 2 weeks. So you know, again, the testament of what you're saying is we're living proof of exactly what you're saying to be true, right?
And to add to that first event that we went to as entrepreneurs, we're actually speaking there in January.
That's awesome. Yes. And now coming up,
well done.
We're gonna be speaking there, right? But also that's because Jarrett's big on speaking things into fruition, right? So that I guess that's the way he does his bubble. What he likes to do is he'll say like, okay, this is what we're gonna definitely do this, right? And he said we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this by next month, or we're gonna do this. He'll give us like a time frame, right? And no, I promise you. And so far,
that's exactly how it works.
Yeah,
yes,
so far it's been like everything he said he wanted us to do kind of like fell into our laps, like back to back to back as he's speaking it. So I definitely believe in that positive affirmation, like that Steve Jobs, creating a reality for yourself and just sticking to it and believing in yourself until you make it happen.
Energy goes where there's clarity.
Hold on.
That was deep. No, shit.
Hold on.
I felt that. Damn hair.
I need that one. I need that one more time.
We're clipping that up too.
We clipping that up. Give it to us one more time, Shira. Look right in the camera.
Energy goes where there's clarity.
Message.
Energy goes where there's clarity.
I love it. So one of my last questions is, we asked a lot of our guests this, right? When is enough, right? When do you get to, what's your mountaintop, right? When do you get to a certain point where you say, okay, I'm going to put everything on autopilot and just now be like a professional gardener, professional vacationer? Like when this Shira says, I've done enough, it's time for me and my family to just kind of, sit back and relax and enjoy the fruits of your labors?
Well, I don't know. My son just applied to Penn. So if he gets in, that's going to take a while to pay off.
Okay. That's right. Okay. We talking out by us, right?
Penn we're talking to UPenn. We're talking about
University of Pennsylvania out by us. Yeah, out by us.
Undergraduate. Yeah, we flew out to Philly to go check out schools. He's looking at Penn and Lehigh.
Okay.
And neither of them are like, so I won't be retiring for any time soon.
This is the oldest?
No, it's my youngest.
Okay, your youngest. Okay.
Yeah, the oldest has a learning disability, and
No,
he's
no, I know you said you were working with him, so that's why I thought like you had got him to a certain point where he was now applying for college, which would have been phenomenal.
Amazing,
Also,
yeah.
that would have been amazing because
he's
I
going
remember
to junior colleges. He's in junior college now.
Still
He's
amazing.
doing great.
That's college. I'm
Quite
sorry.
Look, we were told in first grade that
Right.
he wasn't going to be reading, and we could forget about college. So
Right.
he's
Wow.
done
God
phenomenal.
bless.
Right.
He's done really, really well.
And let me say this to you, right? And I'm gonna say this to everybody: like the days of these Ivy League colleges and having these big names on your degree determining your success is over. It's over. I'm just telling you.
Depends what you want.
Listen.
Yes.
You can have it. You
Depends
can
what you
have
want.
it. You can have it. But back then, it was almost needed. It's not needed
Yes.
now.
You don't
And-
have to have it now. If you're going to study,
I'm telling you. And in certain industries, it doesn't even matter whose name is on your degree. It's can you do the job or not?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, like, you know what I mean? Like, so him being in junior college is college. It's continued education.
Yeah, for what he's going
absolutely.
to do.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So, congratulations to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because junior college it just means it's a 2-year university. That's all it means. That's all it means.
I went to junior college.
So did I. My business degree is from a junior college, right? And now in New York, some of our junior colleges now I think are actually going to 4 years. They're going to actually offer 4-year programs. Absolutely.
Yeah, I went to junior college and then I went to ASU, and then afterwards I went to Kellogg.
Right.
So
there you go.
Yeah. Listen, I said I went to junior college, got my degree, and then I was gonna go to Baruch to finish off my MBA. But I just switched it because I do construction. I switched and went to City Tech. But listen, there's nothing wrong with a junior college. City Tech in Brooklyn. Yeah.
My grandmother graduated from City College.
Okay, the one in Manhattan by Chambers Street. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They have a great architecture program down there too.
She studied accounting. She graduated when she was 18.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. She was serious.
So real quick, you don't draw, you don't dabble in the architecture no more. Never got the itch to kind of like.
I'm very obsessed with interior design. I have a very built out Pinterest. That's about as far as I go.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I follow a lot of interior designers on TikTok and Instagram. I also follow a lot of fashion designers because my undergraduate degree on TikTok, and I have a very built out Pinterest board. Otherwise, no, my entire life is marketing and tech and deep tech.
I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting you to tell me you was watching some HGTV. I was expecting, they got
HGTV is all the same now. It's boring.
I'm just saying, but they have those like those interior design shows and they're
like all the same now. Like I was very into it in the beginning, and then suddenly it all just no, I can't. Like I'll watch Architectural Digest has a YouTube channel. That I'll do because that's actually good and everything's unique.
Okay.
But if I'm looking at HGTV, like, oh God, how many times can I see shiplap? I just can't.
Yeah. That's real. What do you got? I was gonna say we can talk about the cable, but I don't want to go into a deep thing with that. Cable's done. Cable's done now. The Disney agreement.
When you have a love, when you have like a natural, like you, Jarrett, like you're an artist, right? Mm-hmm. When you're an artist, your brain works a certain way.
Mm-hmm. So
it would be suffice to say that you're gonna pick careers or jobs that challenge you in a certain way that you process information. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So once you understand yourself and you, like I said with her, you switch gears, but you kind of always come back to that first love because that's the way your brain just processes. So when she says she loves interior design, I go, okay, I was looking for something like that because once you do it because you love it, it never leaves you.
Right. Yeah. So the love is still there, but the actual execution side of it, when I got the MBA, the execution side of it just got destroyed with like a mallet because now everything in my head is strategy and more on that side of it, right? Yeah. Because that's the muscle that the MBA builds up.
Yeah.
And since the MBA, I primarily read things that have to do with behavioral finance or behavioral economics or marketing or business or sales.
Yeah. I love it.
Jarrett, why do you look like that's just terrible? You were like,
no, I'm just looking like, ooh, that's great.
No.
Like I'm putting it down. Behavioral finance, like I'm literally mental Rolodex. I'm doing that. Do sales and marketing, of course. Like I always try to up level my game. But like as you're saying that as well, like what I will say, Shira, is that I appreciate you coming on the show because this is exactly why we created the show, right?
Yeah.
This isn't a conversation that you would have had on Ad Week, that you wouldn't have had on any other place, right? But I feel like I know you so much. I know you. I feel like I've known you for years. Just
here's a compliment to it too. Look at this compliment here.
Oh my God, that is a compliment.
That's right.
There you go. You know what I mean? But that's what it's about, right? So that's why we wanted to start it, because like I didn't want to be a niche, right? I didn't want to have something like a B2B podcast specifically talking about social media strategy, right? Because you're only gonna get so much information out of that, right? But I can't tell you how many stories we've gotten organically, or even just hearing your story and how much gems I've taken in from that. So like this is what it's about, and I appreciate you coming in and sharing. Like your story is amazing. I'm glad to call you a friend now.
Absolutely amazing. No, it's absolutely amazing.
Yes.
It's absolutely amazing. I like I said, it just really doesn't get better than that. I don't, to overcome adversity at the levels that she was doing it is just like, you know what I mean?
I'm a fan.
I love it. Yeah, I'm speechless. I'm
a fan.
I'm being honest. Like
glad.
I'm definitely a fan. Because you have that unlimited push. Like you said, like that unlimited drive. Like when I want something, I'm not letting it go. You know what I mean? And that's very, very rare, because you said that you were, you have 4 almost bottom out moments. Just one of them, you could have been like, throw everything in the air, kick the chair. I'm done. It's over. You have 4 of them, and still was like, I don't care. Like
it could have been successful doing other things.
Like, I don't care. Like I'm here now, but I will not be here forever. So, it's just an amazing story, and I know that people are gonna listen to this and take so many gems from this. Well, let the people know where they can find you, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are interested where they can find you, and where they can connect with you.
So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Please put a note so that I know you're
from the pod,
connecting to me because of the show. I don't accept everybody who reaches out, so please put a note.
Yes, spam now. Wow.
Yeah, they're really. So LinkedIn, you can find me. I'm not active on X anymore. Like Twitter, now that it's gone haywire. No, thank you. But yeah, basically LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn's where it's at.
And if you want to, if you want to know more about the agency, of course, Hunter and Bard. But it's not the @ sign in terms of the URL. It's hunterandbard.com.
There you go.
Sounds good.
I love it. I love it.
I enjoy.
So, we
I said my beer is hot. I can't even drink this. Oh my God, it's hot. Disgusting. What you was gonna say? That's why I had the bitter beer face.
Sure, he's out of control. He's definitely out of control. No, what I was gonna say was, I think this was a great start, but we're definitely gonna have more conversations with you down the line. We definitely appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, I got so much information from you, just me personally. And also, just like I said, your story has just reaffirmed. You didn't even know we had those conversations earlier, right? Your story is just reaffirming that we're on the right path. So if just in case we were doubting ourselves, right? You didn't even know we had that conversation earlier. The information you gave us is like, stay doing what you're doing.
That's exactly what I got out of it.
Yeah, I'm telling you. That's what I got out of it. So you inspired me. Absolutely. Again, right? You see how things can kind of just happen without you knowing, right? We didn't know what you were going to say on the show, right? It's organic. So you just happen to say what we were just going through or what we just talked about. Like, it doesn't work out better than that. This is unscripted. It doesn't work out better than that.
This is why it's more than that. This is why we charting, baby. This is why we doing it. But thank you for everybody this is what the stories I love.
Have you guys thought about doing this as a road show?
Oh,
wait, hold on. Remember, we had the conversation.
Hold on, take it to school. Let's go to school. How do we monetize? Let's talk about.
We had the conversation about it, but it was a quick conversation because it was another podcast crew that we were talking to, and they took their show on the road, and they were sharing some of their experience with how they grew it by going on the road and things of that nature. But what we are thinking about doing in the future, obviously, is what we want to do is start moving from the virtual to more in-person interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I could see you guys doing events and that going really well.
And we're actually working. We're in the process of actually working on those now also. So
yeah,
see,
especially in the sales world. Like I've done a lot of speaking, like BSAF, a lot of different brands. So like for me, what I specialize in for brands listening, employee advocacy, right? So a lot of people are thinking about how are sales being done differently, right? The sales game has changed over the last 2-3 years. That's why personal branding is so important today, right? But most times, most brands, they just give their teams blogs, some sort of content, tell them to reshare it, when really they should be saying, hey, what is your voice? How do you feel about the product? What experience are you having with the customer? Like, and all those things in a nutshell that help drive sales, to help drive leads, awareness, recruitment, all of those things. So it's just, hey, if I did this in Indian style on the couch of the Bronx and I drove $2 million just doing this, being myself, I put up a well-done steak and got a lead. It's just like, it just, you know.
He partying right now.
I that, but I just want to tell the story because one need to hear the story. Because I was like, man, I was in a weird space. I used to make 200 calls a day, Shira. I used to be like, when I didn't get a meeting booked, this was a waste of your paying me. I felt like I was stealing money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you go home, you're like, oh man, it was a shitty day, and you have the ups, and next day you get a deal, you're like, oh, I'm Rocky. I'm tired of that.
Yeah. It is a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster ride. Yeah, it's a roller coaster ride. You know,
believe me, that one I know.
You gotta have tough skin for this game.
Yes.
You know, gotta have tough skin, right? You gotta be able to like take some criticism, take some, okay, I messed up. Okay, tell me how to correct it. Get chewed out sometimes, and just keep a positive mentality and say, you know what, I'm gonna take what you told me and implement it and just make myself better. Because everything's not a personal jab. I think today. Too many people just take things way too personally. Like you're doing a job. If you mess up, you're supposed to get corrected. You made a mistake. You didn't do it right, or you didn't do it the way somebody's paying you to do it.
Feedback
is information and get better. Right. Yeah. So, but it definitely takes strong skin to be in this space,
So a Kellogg thing, because I just took a class on this a little while ago. I still audit classes. And a Kellogg thing is feedback is a gift. And the way you ask for it, for somebody who doesn't want to give it to you, you ask for it by saying, okay, can you tell me one thing I've done well and one thing I could do differently?
Message.
Here we go.
I like that a lot.
I like one thing I've done well and one thing I can do differently.
And the do differently is really critical because it's with the do differently that you end up getting the information that they don't want to tell you because they're uncomfortable. So then they start on the what didn't go. Nobody wants to make you feel bad, right? Everybody wants to be nice. Right. So when you ask them about the do differently, that's when you get to find out what they're really thinking.
There you go.
We're implementing that immediately.
Yeah, I like that.
On our weeklies. What have we done well this week and what could we've done differently?
Yep.
Shira, don't send us send us a retainer after this because
we're on like a fifth bell right now.
Okay, we're on like eighth period.
I can't afford another bell.
A lot of your gems, we write it down on the set.
We're good. No worries, guys. All good.
So when you see this implemented in certain space, you're like, wait, I told you guys.
They're on the road. They're on the road. They're in California. They're in my neighborhood.
So what we want to do also before we end this is we want to personally extend an invite out to you. We extend it to all our guests. And this is how we end up meeting Udi in person, right? Udi did the show. We extended to him the invite. If you're ever in New York, please, Jarrett put his number for you in the chat. Please let us know. We can definitely link up and have some dinner or something like that on us. We can be a tour guide. Roll out the red carpet, just kind of hang out a little bit if you have some time. Udi took us up on that. He had an event at Kotora and said, "Hey guys, I will be in New York at Kotora. Why don't you guys come down?" And we went down. Absolutely. Awesome. Absolutely. And had an amazing time. So we're extending the invite to you. Please, if you're ever in New York, just let us know, and we would love to just pick your brain some more.
My pleasure.
You smart.
The one bell for the road. That one's for free, she said.
That was for free.
But thank you again, Shira. Like this was amazing. Thank you for everybody on the chats. Thank you for the YouTube community. Thank you for the LinkedIn team. Thank you for Facebook. We really appreciate you guys. We got our first in-person podcast dropping this Tuesday with Champ from My Expert Opinion, guys. It's been a really big episode, man. We enjoyed it. There's a lot of information.
We're excited.
Yeah, we're excited. Shira, we thank you for your opportunity to be here. You have an open invite whenever, and we'll see. Thank you. And we'll see you
Been a
guys
pleasure.
next week for another episode of More Than a Title, baby. We'll see you guys. We out of here.
I got music.
Well, we right
What
here.
you know about me? Seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me?